Hi there. My name is Monica and I'm a school outreach specialist at Mishawaka-Penn-Harris Public Library. I'm here today to talk to you about some really great books that you can get from the public library. So let's get started. So, as I mentioned, today we're going to be talking about some books that are available at the public library. This is something that we call book talks. Kind of makes sense, right? So all of these books are available at the public library, and if you find something that you like or that you're interested in, I encourage you to visit our website, which is www.mphpl.org. From there, you can find where the titles live on what shelves, and also you can request other books. I do also encourage you to check out our events page. We have lots of events that we host throughout the year at the public library. Some will be on your computer, some will be virtual programs, and then others will be in person. So lots of fun things happening all year round at the public library. Well, let's get into the books. The first is a series by Stuart Gibbs called Spy School. I'm going to show you a short video and then we'll talk about the book. So that is the Spy School series. As you can see, there are several books in this series. So if you like the first one, you've got lots to check out after that. So this series centers on Ben. Ben is a mathematical genius. He is so awesome at math, and his goal in life is to become a spy someday or work in some kind of super secret place. So it was pretty incredible the day that he was invited to attend the Academy of Espionage. This is a super secret school, a super secret spy school, and Ben is invited to attend. And so he says, yes, absolutely. He kind of convinces his parents that this is a good thing, and he becomes a student at the Academy of Espionage. As he's there, he starts to realize that maybe things aren't as good as they seem. So as he's learning how to be a spy and a CIA agent, he realizes that some of the people there aren't exactly trustworthy, and that perhaps there are some double agents who are working at the school and trying to take it down. Ben encounters ninjas, he encounters hidden bombs throughout the school, and also various attacks all focus on him. And so he has to figure out who the double agents are and try to save the spy school before they are able to take down the entire place. So if you like action-packed stories and you like a little bit of funny, there's some pretty good funny parts in this. Spy School would be a great one for you. Let me watch the video. Okay, so this is one of my favorite books to talk about because it's kind of awesome. So this is Slider by Pete Hoffman. And before we get into the story, I want to tell you some interesting facts about hot dog competitive eating. So you may be familiar with this. You may know that there are people out there who spend their lives training in order to eat as many things as possible in a competition. So the picture that you see on the screen are the 2020 Nathan's famous hot dog eating contest champions. So the guy is a man named Joey Chestnut, and he is the world record holder for the most hot dogs eaten in 10 minutes, and we'll get to that in a second. And the lady is Miko Sudo, and she just won the championship and now holds the world record for women on eating the most hot dogs. So this competition actually just happened recently earlier this summer. And let me tell you what they did. So Nikki ate 48 and a half hot dogs, and it's not just hot dogs, it's hot dog and bun in 10 minutes. So I don't know if you can picture that, but 48 and a half hot dogs in 10 minutes. And Joey Chestnut, who has been around for quite some time and has been the champion for a while, managed to break his old record from 2018, and he was able to eat 75 hot dogs in 10 minutes. Can you believe that? 75 hot dogs in 10 minutes. I get full after a couple, But wow, 75 hot dogs. So if your grown-ups are cool with this and you are bored looking around on the internet, you should definitely check out the competition. You can watch it. It is very interesting to see. Okay, so on to the book slider. So we have David, and David wants to be a competitive eater. He's actually obsessed with competitive eating. It's his goal in life to become just like Joey Chestnut. And so one of the things that he can do is he can eat a 16-inch pizza in under 5 minutes. Now, if you're kind of trying to figure out how big a 16-inch pizza is, this pizza normally serves about 5 to 6 people. And if you order it from a restaurant, it's usually the extra large pizza. So David's pretty good. He can eat an extra large pizza in under 5 minutes. So he loves competitive eating, and he is training himself for the Super Peggiorino Pizza Eating Bowl, which will be coming up at the end of the summer. If David is able to win this, he will win a huge cash prize, and he will be the champion of this competitive eating world that he wants to be a part of. So here's what happens. One day, David is looking around online, and he discovers that he could purchase in an auction, he could buy a half-eaten hot dog from one of his heroes, another competitive eater whose last name is Garofalo, I believe. And so David decides to put in an offer to buy this half-eaten hot dog. He grabs his mom's credit card, and he puts in a bid for $20. And he's like, maybe I'll win it for $20. And he's really excited. He wakes up the next morning to check the site to see if he won, and it turns out he won. He won the half-eaten hot dog. That's the good news. The bad news is that he accidentally bid $2,000 using his mom's credit card, not $20. So David really, really, really needs to get some cash quick. He needs about $2,000 in order to pay his mom back. So this pizza eating competition is now kind of a matter of life and death for him. So David spends the summer training and desperately hoping that he will win this pizza eating competition. So this is a really fun book. It tells you lots of really great tips and tricks for if you are considering competitive eating as a career. So that is Slider by Pete Hoffman. Love that book. Okay, switching gears to something definitely creepier. We have The Forgotten Girl by India Hill Brown. And I'm going to show you a video and then we'll talk about the book.
Hello, my name is India Hill Brown, and I'm telling you about my middle grade novel, The Forgotten Girl. The Forgotten Girl follows two best friends, Iris and Daniel, and in the beginning of the story, they sneak out past bedtime because they want to experience the freshly fallen snow in their neighborhood. They make snow angels and realize that they've actually made a snow angel on top of an unmarked grave. Iris and Daniel soon find out that it wasn't just an unmarked grave that they found, but an entire abandoned and segregated graveyard right in their own neighborhood. They want to do some more research so they can help restore and bring recognition to this graveyard. However, they've also awakened a ghost named Avery. Avery is fed up with being forgotten. She's been forgotten in this abandoned and segregated graveyard, and she wants justice and she wants recognition. Part of the inspiration of The Forgotten Girl is the fact that I have family members buried in graveyards that used to be segregated and abandoned. I wanted to bring light to that because it's not something I heard a lot about in school. Thank you, and I hope you enjoy The Forgotten Girl.
So it's The Forgotten Girl is a really incredible and creepy ghost story. So as you heard the author talk about, there are two best friends and neighbors, Iris and Daniel, and one night they are out in the snow enjoying it when they discover an unmarked grave. And this grave happens to belong to a girl named Avery, who is around their age. She's, I believe, 11 or 12. She was 11 or 12 when she passed away. And so Iris and Daniel are very curious about this girl, and they don't really understand why there's a graveyard. And as the author mentioned, it turns out that this is a segregated graveyard. So if you're not familiar with that, that basically means that before the Civil Rights Movement, when African Americans were separated from white people and by laws and different rules, even cemeteries. So there were white cemeteries and there were black cemeteries back in the day. And so this is a forgotten, segregated cemetery. So as Iris and Daniel start to research the cemetery and why it is hidden away and abandoned, they also, Iris starts to have these weird situations and weird moments, and eventually she realizes that she is being haunted by Avery. And Avery is a very frustrated ghost, and so she starts out nice and wants to be Iris's friend, but eventually her true colors show, and she has become very bitter and angry that she was forgotten. So Avery she tries to lure Iris and her younger sister Vashti. She tries to lure them into danger so that they will have attention drawn to them, and that maybe Avery won't be forgotten anymore. All of this ties into Daniel's grandmother. Her name is Suga, and she is always talking about the spirits of the snow and how you need to be careful of the snow because there are spirits within the snow that will haunt you or try to take you away. And so the Forgotten Girl has several different mysteries that are happening all in this story. So it is fantastic. I recommend reading this with the lights on, and maybe don't read it right before bedtime because it is definitely creepy, but it also tells a really interesting part of history. So I loved this book. I highly, highly recommend this. I'm hoping the author comes out with some more books here in the future. This is her first story. So that is The Forgotten Girl, a good creepy ghost story. Okay. Our next story is The Winterbourne Home for Vengeance and Valor. And this is written by Allie Carter. If you enjoy this book, I definitely recommend reading Allie Carter's other stories. She always has a fun story, lots of humor, and really cool characters. So the Winterbourne Home book centers on a girl named April, and April has been living in different foster homes her entire life. When she was just a baby, her mother left her at a fire station with a note asking them to take care of her baby April, and that she would return soon. In addition to the letter, April's mom also left her with a necklace that has a key, a very special key with a special image on it. April has no idea who her mom is and when she will return, but every day she is sure that her mom is going to come back and get her. She also doesn't know what the key is for. So April is living in her latest foster home and just trying to survive when her class goes on a field trip to the local museum. And at the museum, there's a display about the famous Winterbourne family. These are very wealthy people in her town. And the Winterbourne heir, his name is Gabriel. And when he turned 21, about 10 years ago, he went missing. He disappeared. So there's this big mystery about where Gabriel Winterbourne went. And several people have come forward and claimed that they were Gabriel, but really they aren't. So this museum exhibit has artifacts and things from the family, different dresses and things like that. April finds a picture on a box that looks just like the picture that is on the key that her mother left her. And so she knows she is somehow connected to the Winterbourne family, but she's not really sure how. So she decides to sneak back into the museum in the middle of the night to see if her key will fit into the lock box. Unfortunately, she uses a candle to go into the museum, and unfortunately, the candle gets knocked over and causes a fire inside the museum. April manages to escape, but when she wakes up the next morning in the hospital, there's a woman who is sitting there, and the woman invites April to come and live at the Winterbourne home. April doesn't really have much choice, so she leaves her foster family and goes to live at this Winterbourne home, and she meets several other kids who also live there, and they're all awesome. You're gonna love these guys. You'll wanna hang out with these kids. I definitely wanted to. So as she is living at this house, she also has the motive of trying to figure out why she has this key and what it will unlock inside this big mansion of the Winterbourne family. So in addition to this, she also starts learning the mystery of the missing Gabriel Winterbourne, and that maybe he's closer than he seems. So lots of fun mysteries are happening in this book. It's also pretty funny. There's a lot of action. There's a hero that no one really knows called the Sentinel, who legend says protects the city. And so the Sentinel has a moment here as well. So the Winterbourne Home for Vengeance and Valor is just a really fun, adventurous story. So I highly, highly recommend this one. You'll have a lot of fun with that. Next, we have a graphic novel. This is the Amulet series, which you may have heard of, but if you haven't, this is Amulet, and book 1 is called The Stonekeeper. This one's a pretty intense story. So this is about Emily and her brother Nathan, and unfortunately their father has passed away in a car accident recently, and their mom and all of them are pretty upset still and grieving. And so the siblings and their mom moved to a family home far away. And as they're living in this house, they notice that things aren't quite what they seem, and that maybe there's something lurking dangerously at this house. So one night, their mom goes into the basement to try to figure out where a sound is coming from, and they can't find their mom after a while, so Emily and Niven go downstairs and they find a door, and they realize that their mother has been lured through this door by a monster, basically a creature that has tentacles. You can kind of see it on the cover there, and it has taken their mom into this dangerous underground world. And so Emily and her brother follow through the door, and they join this underground world to try to find their mother. And along the way, they meet a mechanical rabbit, so kind of like a robot rabbit, named Misket, who knows this world and is able to help them a little bit. The title, Amulet, comes from a necklace that Emily finds in the house, and it's this magical amulet. Again, you can see that on the cover. She has it around her neck, that talks to her and promises to help her. But you're not entirely sure if you can trust what the amulet has to say. So this is a series. Stonekeeper is the first one, and there are several other books in the series. It's a graphic novel, so there's really colorful pictures and just a story that's gonna grab you right from the start. So again, a little bit of creepiness to it, so just heads up that some of the monsters are pretty scary. So hopefully you like scary things. But that is the Stonekeeper Amulet book 1. Okay. The last book that I have for you is a nonfiction book, so everything in here is true. This is Eureka, the most amazing scientific discoveries of all time, and it's written by Dr. Mike Goldsmith. So there are a whole bunch of different things, and they talk about different scientists and different discoveries throughout history, and I'm just going to tell you about a couple that caught my attention. Okay, so let's start with Gertrude. So this is, you can see in the picture, that is Gertrude Elian, and she was a doctor who she wanted to find a cure for diseases that had no cure. So she spent a lot of time studying. She actually was born in 1918, and she lived until she was 81. So she's actually kind of more recent for us. But through her work, she was able to find treatments for infections and diseases like leukemia, malaria, and gout. So at her time, leukemia, there wasn't treatment for that, and she was able to do a lot of research and a lot of work and experiments in order to find treatments and cures for those things. She was also able to find ways to make organ transplants. So when someone has to maybe have a new kidney and they receive a donation of a kidney, she helped find a way to make transplants safer and more effective for the patients. So she was a pretty big deal. So you can learn about Gertrude in this book. Some other ones, Antony van Leeuwenhoek, he was a Dutch scientist from way back in the day, so in the 1600s, and he found ways to make microscopes more effective. So he did a lot of studying of very small things, and some interesting kind of gross facts about him. So one, he was able to find a spider in his house, and he studied the spider. So he was one of the first people to realize that spiders that their bodies were covered in hair and that they had multiple eyes. So that's kind of a cool fact. Something that he did to experiment with is that he didn't clean his feet. He never washed his feet because he wanted to see what creatures were in the dirt that was stuck between his toes. Whoa, isn't that gross? Something else that he did, back in the 1600s, bugs were kind of all around and people didn't really have a problem with the bugs being all around or on them all the time. And so what he did is he allowed lice to live on his legs and in his socks so that he could study them under his microscope. Isn't that gross? So I thought that was an interesting fact. And to end on a not gross note, the final picture there is Michael Faraday. And he lived in the 1800s, and one of the things that he figured out was how magnetism and electricity are kind of related. But something cool that I did not know and just learned through this book is that he actually invented rubber balloons. So balloons that we use at parties and everything, he invented those to help him with his experiments. Something tells me, have you ever had a balloon and you rub it on your hair and then try to make it stick to the wall? I bet Michael Faraday was the first person to ever try that. So something kind of cool to think about. All of these stories are available in the book Eureka. There's some other really interesting things. So if you are into science or history or medical stuff, this book has it all. It's so fascinating and it's a pretty quick read. So again, that is Eureka, the most amazing scientific discoveries of all time by Dr. Mike Goldsmith. Okay, those are all of the books that I have for you today. I hope there was something in here that you enjoyed. Again, all of these books are available at the Mishawaka-Penn-Harris Public Library. Yeah, stop in, visit us, or check out our website. Again, that's www.mphpl.org. All right, until next time, have a great day.